The second phase of the Madlanga Commission will see the inquiry produce its first report by the 17th of December 2025. The second report is expected in March 2026. This, as the Madlanga Commission has been granted 6 months to complete its work. The inquiry is looking into allegations of political interference within law enforcement agencies and the infiltration of criminal syndicates thereof. Since then, various witnesses have testified, including KwaZulu-Natal Police Commissioner, Lieutenant General Madlanga Commission. For more on this, let's speak to SABC News reporter Canny Maphanga. Canny, good morning to you.
Indeed. Good morning to Leanne and to the viewers. Once again, we are expecting a new witness to take the stand before the Madlanga Commission this morning as it edges closer to the production of that prelim report on the 17th of December 2025. So essentially, Lieutenant General Hilda Sintumele is a high-ranking SABC official that is expected to delve into the PKTT. So we're once again circling back to the evidence of the Political Killings Task Team, which is the genesis of those allegations that we saw Lieutenant General Mkhwanazi coming out in the public to reveal in July. That is following the subsequent disbandment of the PKTT, and of course those dockets being moved from the KZN office to the Pretoria head office, where it was said that these dockets were going to fall under organized crime or murder, and of course they were going to be investigated by those different units. So we have already heard some evidence relating to what happened when those dockets arrived in Pretoria. That is in contrast to the evidence of Mkhwanazi and several other intelligence heads who alleged that those dockets sat there and gathered dust for the period in which they sat in Pretoria. And of course, those investigations regarding the Political Killings Task Team and those subsequent dockets remain stagnant for some time. We've also heard evidence that the manner in which it was done was quite hasty and wasn't proper. I think the quote-unquote correct term I think it was Lieutenant Colonel Kumalo, who stated that it was quite quote-unquote messy, the way in which those transfer of dockets happened in Pretoria. So what is still hanging in the balance is what is the true purpose behind moving those dockets and having them sit there in Pretoria without any investigations taking place at the time. So we've heard contrary evidence as to Mkhwanazi and the subsequent, witnesses that are in harmony with that particular evidence, alleging that it was a means to, undermine or allegedly suppress those investigations that they were advancing on as the PKTT and leave those dockets gathering dust in the Pretoria head office. But what we're hearing from the other side is that movement had been made to continue with those investigations. However, they were waiting for funding in order to give effect to that particular motion with respect to those particular dockets. However, they later did move back to KZN, but I think this evidence will probably focus on the time that it was moved and when it sat in Pretoria and what the subsequent efforts were to advance investigations into those highly important probes or investigations in those dockets that were moved from the KZN head office to the Pretoria head office. This as the Commission continues to probe the true motivation or purpose behind the disbandment of the Political Killings Task Team and the subsequent fallout following that particular decision of the Police Minister. Sendom Mchunu, who is now on a leave of absence, will continue to catch up on some of this evidence in the next hour. Over to you in studio.
Canny Maphanga, thanks so much for that update, and we'll check in with you again in the next bulletin.